I'm excited about my new book, Every Day of Friday, How to Be Happier 7 Days a Week. Before it releases, though, I want to share the story of a man whose life has moved through remarkable highs and deep controversies, Joel Osteen, the pastor whose rise to global fame was matched only by the scrutiny that followed him. In 2020, Osteen's empire was estimated at around $110 million. Then rumors began to swirl that something dramatic had happened, that by 2025 he had somehow lost more than half of it. People claimed his mansion was up for sale, his private jet gone, staff quietly dismissed, and that he had turned to a secret income source far from preaching. As intriguing as the stories were, many of them were nothing more than speculation. Still, Joel's life is filled with twists worthy of examination, and the truth is often more complex than the rumors. Joel Osteen was born on March 5, 1963 in Houston, the youngest of 6 children in a household where faith and television equipment mixed daily. His father, John Osteen, had once been a Southern Baptist minister before breaking from the denomination and turning a dusty old feed store into the first Lakewood Church building in 1959. 90 people showed up that opening day, unaware that they were witnessing the beginnings of what would become one of the world's most influential megachurches. John's preaching style was unconventional. He welcomed charismatic worship, healing services, and speaking in tongues, elements that upset traditionalists but drew crowds. Joel watched all of this from childhood, absorbing the atmosphere even though he never saw himself at a pulpit. He preferred the quiet corners, the camera angles, the editing, the behind-the-scenes work that shaped how the world saw Lakewood. In 1981, when Joel was 18, his mother Dodie was diagnosed with metastatic liver cancer and sent home with no medical options left. The family turned their living room into a prayer space. Against all medical expectations, Dodie recovered, an event that became a foundational testimony in the church and deeply influenced Joel's view of faith and words, and the power people believed they carried. Despite the intensity of his home life, Joel himself lived a fairly ordinary youth: school, friends, hobbies. What set him apart was his passion for media. When he enrolled at Oral Roberts University, he chose radio and television communications, not theology. But the strict environment didn't suit him, and after a year he dropped out and returned to Houston, eager to build Lakewood's media ministry. He began with little more than a rented camera and determination, producing Lakewood's first television broadcast from a makeshift studio in 1982. By 1983, he was ordained, not because he planned to preach, but because the church expected it. He still avoided the stage. For the next 17 years, he poured himself into the technical side of ministry. He edited every sermon, tracked his father's wardrobe to avoid continuity issues, negotiated sponsorships with local businesses when the church finances dipped, and eventually convinced Lakewood's board to invest in a Houston TV station, KTBU. It was a daring multimillion-dollar leap, but it transformed Lakewood into a national broadcast powerhouse. Joel's life changed in January 1999. Just 6 days after reluctantly preaching his first sermon at his father's urging, John Osteen died suddenly at 77. Joel had never wanted the pulpit. He offered the position to his siblings, but they declined. It was his wife, Victoria, who quietly pushed him to step into leadership. In October of that year, he officially became senior pastor of Lakewood Church. The transition was rocky. Donations dropped sharply, and Joel even had to use personal funds to stabilize the church. But his clean, upbeat preaching style, shorter sermons, modern music, positive messaging, began drawing more people. Attendance jumped from 6,000 to 10,000 within a year. By 2005, it reached 15,000, and Lakewood moved into the former home of the Houston Rockets, the Compaq Center. The renovation cost nearly $100 million, funded by loans and aggressive fundraising. 2 decades later, in 2024, Lakewood finally paid off the entire debt, a milestone that left Joel in tears on stage. As Lakewood expanded, scrutiny increased. In 2003, an accountant embezzled $200,000, exposing weaknesses in the rapidly growing organization. Critics questioned how a church operating with budgets as high as $90 million was allocating its funds. A 2017 report noted that out of $83 million in donations, only a small portion went directly to missions. Meanwhile, Joel and Victoria lived in a multimillion-dollar mansion in Houston's wealthy River Oaks neighborhood, paying hundreds of thousands annually in property taxes. Joel insisted it was paid for by book royalties, not church funds, a statement consistent with his long-held choice not to take a salary from Lakewood. His books were a major part of his income. His 2004 release, Your Best Life Now, sold over 8 million copies and generated tens of millions in royalties. Other titles followed, along with speaking events that filled stadiums. His influence grew through television, podcasts, satellite radio, and global conferences. But controversy hovered. A 2015 lawsuit from a former aide alleged that ghostwriters composed most of his books, a common practice in publishing but a stain on the authenticity many believed his ministry represented. The family faced public challenges as well. In 2004, Victoria was accused of attempting to take merchandise at an airport without paying. The case was dismissed, but the media storm was intense and ratings dipped. Their luxurious lifestyle, including an expensive California vacation home, fueled accusations that the Osteens preached prosperity while living it lavishly. In 2017, during Hurricane Harvey, the church initially kept its doors closed due to flooding concerns and insurance restrictions, igniting a national backlash. Joel ultimately opened the church, donated significant funds, and coordinated relief efforts, softening, though not erasing, public criticism. Money matters kept resurfacing. Lakewood accepted a $4.4 million pandemic relief loan in 2020, then repaid it in 2021 after facing public pressure. The IRS reportedly examined the church's complex media income structure over the years, though no major legal action followed. In February 2024, tragedy struck when a gunman opened fire inside the church during a Spanish-language service, injuring 2 people before being stopped. Questions about security followed, prompting major upgrades. And then came the rumor that Joel had lost $60 million during the pandemic. Analysts found the claim unfounded. By 2025, his net worth remained close to $110 million, bolstered by book sales, appearances, and media licensing. The supposed downfall never happened. At 62, Joel Osteen continued preaching to tens of thousands in person and millions more online. From his first reluctant sermon in 1999 to a global audience spanning over 100 countries, he built a brand of optimism and faith that resonated with some and infuriated others. His story is complicated, part inspiration, part controversy, part media empire, part ministry. But through all the noise, one thing has remained consistent. He keeps smiling, keeps preaching, and keeps moving forward, believing that faith and hope will always make room for a brighter tomorrow.